Hey yo, G Dash, boy, take your hat off. Fine. This week on Hats Off with G Dash Jones.
Have you ever had a burden heavy weighing on you? But you know the ones you love always got your
Hold
back.
up.
Have you ever been close
Take
to
it there.
transplant and been denied
Right there.
twice? When all it takes is one donor
Hold
for
up.
the gift of
Woo!
life, the gift of life, gift of life.
Say it one more time. It's the gift of life. What? The gift of life.
Gift of life, gift of life.
Hold up. It's the gift of life. Yeah. I know I'm wrong. They told me you never supposed to do that before Freeway come up. Like they say you got. But I, listen. P Dot was snapping. I had to let him kill it. So you know what we was doing. Y'all see it. Listen, I'm here today. This is Hats Off with G Dash Jones. If y'all don't know who I'm with right now, then I apologize to yourself. Listen, you are right now. You are with the man, the myth, the legend himself. He goes by the name of Grand G, aka, just in case, because y'all might not know him. Y'all might not know Oya Gilbert. You know what I'm saying? They might not know Oya Gilbert. They might know Grand G. They might not know Oya Gilbert.
Right.
Shedding slave names and stuff. Listen, hey, we cooking. Oh man, how are you feeling, good brother?
Man, I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you letting me come on the show. First of all, I want to thank God, and for everybody out there. I want to say a prayer for them and make sure everybody's safe. But, thank God gets the glory that I'm here.
Ooh, we gonna get into that. God definitely gets the glory that we hear. Yes. Now, what? Listen, my man. I got
Oh,
Greg. And y'all know, if y'all don't know who I got right there, he goes by the name of the Cool Color Kid, aka Randall Law. Good day, good brother. How you feeling?
Yo, I'm still alive, trying not to complain. I had to be a man of my word to hop on a call to be a man of my word so I can see what you guys are laughing and chopping it up about. What's up?
hey, what's going on,
Yes,
fam?
yes. Listen, the world should know y'all are watching Hats Off with G Dash Jones. I got two legends with me. If y'all don't know, again, get familiar. Now, Grand G, you should know this. I'm gonna tell you this right now. I invited Randall on because I'm hosting this situation. I'm hosting a pre-show
Okay.
on Saturday,
All
right?
right.
And I do a moment where I tell people how to update their calendar. I give them the events that are happening, regardless if I'm a part of it or not. But I like to let people know what's going on.
Okay.
And I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm here.
I'm gonna tell people, but Randall here, he can tell them a little bit about it himself. My guy, tell people a little bit about 100 pairs to give, sir.
100 pair to give times 3 back to school empowerment giveaways at William Penn this Saturday the 10th from 10 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Almost had a brain fart. We got our pre-kickoff registration with vendors with G Dash Jones and your boy DJ Tim Dog kicking off with the ones and twos from 10 to 12. From 12:15 to 1:30, we go over to our main stage with DJ Cali Love and Ray Fame Hancock, the floor host for the 76ers and the Delaware Bluecoats, kicking it off. We have 3 amazing speakers coming through, and we also have a mascot reveal along with Cody from the Bluecoats, the Blue Rocks, Cody Beacom's College strike. We also have Dell State's Too Fly coming out to reveal the Cool World mascot. I mean, we're giving over 300 giveaways, 100 pair of sneakers. Wisfist is giving over 100 surprise items. And who else? Oh, yeah. Nemours is giving over 100 surprise items. The first 100 walk-ins will receive a book bag courtesy of Community Cares of Delaware. Listen, food sponsors off the chain. We coming to empower. We gonna have some fun. Tell them what's up, G Dash.
Oh Lord, it was a lot. Like he said a lot of stuff. Listen, feel free to rewind that back when you get a moment and take notes. Listen, okay. now, I'm gonna ask you this real quick, Randy, because I'm gonna put this into a poem, and I'm gonna include as much of what he said as I can remember. I'm lying. I wrote some stuff down,
Okay.
but we
All
gonna see what I can include.
right.
But I want to know: is there any events coming up that you want me to add to this moment?
Who, me?
Yes, sir.
Oh man, nah, there's no really events coming on. I'm speaking at a different couple locations from the foundation aspect. But when we get into the story, it'll come out, what's going on. So I'm gonna just leave it
All
at
right,
that for
all
now.
right. So
Yeah,
you
yeah.
sure you don't want to mention none of them places we speaking at? Like I said, I'll throw it
Oh
in here.
nah, yeah, it's you can't go there, but I'll be in different locations. We're gonna talk about it. We'll rap about it.
All right, all right. Well, then I'm about to just update your calendar. Let's go.
Okay.
G, update your calendar. I'm thinking. I'm thinking. I'm thinking. Update your calendar. I'm gonna tell you exactly what you should be doing. So when Friday come, you can go see Maya Bellardo live at the Corn. See, but Saturday, oh well, what you want me to say? You can go see, excuse me, receive all the gifts you can receive from Randall Law, maybe Tim Dog. I'll see live at WP. You can call it William Penn. It can be 100 pairs to give and then give and to give again. That means it's 3 times. I don't want you to get lost in these lines. I just want you to understand the game. They're going to unveil a mascot and you might even meet fame. See, this is what it's going to be. It's going to be so open. It's insane. See,
Wow.
after that meet and greet, you might want to go get the plane. Then you can take it over to Union Street to Open Streets. See, this is what it's supposed to be. I promise you. This is guaranteed that you will have the best time of your life. Guaranteed. Well, let's just see. You can also at that night go see the films. Which ones? Well, Dirty Popcorn, of course, is happening again. You might even see Jet Phoenix. That's when you're going to see it. And I promise you, it's going to be so good you can't believe it. And if you got to writing words that are rhyming words in the second Saturday poets, are putting things together that you haven't heard. I'm just telling you how you can handle all that. Then on that Sunday, Trevor Moreno got a vegan anniversary barbecue. Eat that with Gravy Bo Jones, and they serving up good. I'm just telling you everything you could do or you should. And even when you're not done, maybe you want to stay home. A Rebirth podcast. Oh, Shay and Eli, the conversation gets grown. I'm just hoping that you're doing what's going on.
Wow.
And even Wednesday, you can't even let the week pass. Icons, Genesis Z. Oh, they got an open mic jam session. Oh, straight for that. Hold up. I ain't got to say that. I just need you to know that for that flat moment just passed. Even at the UAE on the Walnut Street, what you will see is me hosting the pre-show. Guaranteed before the music series. This is what this is supposed to be.
Oh Lord.
And Bellevue even got a free art class for the youth on Mondays and Wednesdays with Brian Mills. I'm just trying to give y'all things for you to do. Now update your calendar. I'm just being real.
Yo,
All right. All right.
yo, G Dash. Yo, I also forgot to tell you, Brian Mills will be at the pre-kickoff doing a live painting as well.
Boy, don't stop working. That boy don't stop working. God. Whoa, I'm tired. They say I'll be working. He be working. Shut up, Bill. Listen. And yeah, by the way, if y'all watching again, I mentioned Brian Mills. He does have a free art class for the youth on Wednesdays and Mondays. So go check that out. That was updating your calendar.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to y'all, figuring it out. Anything else you want to let the people know, brother?
I'm glad I ain't putting that in there because my thing I've been like hematology. You would have to get real scientific on it. I'm glad I didn't add nothing to it.
Oh, you don't know. At the end of this, you're going to give me a word anyway. Don't worry about
I got you.
it. We circling back to that. He's
I got you.
Randall, he don't know what's about that. That's fine.
You're right.
We'll see. Oh, man. But Randall, anything else you want to add in about the circumstance, or did we cover it all?
I think you covered it all, man. You did a wonderful job, man. I can't wait to see your energy this Saturday, man. I mean, every time I'm in your presence, man, you always give me a little more greatness about you that I didn't know about. So I'm looking forward to this, man. We're gonna have some fun, man.
So
Absolutely, absolutely. See, and this is an episode of giving, as you can see, because I got 100 pairs to give right here, and I got my man Grand G, with the whole Hip Hop Foundation. So listen, we out here. So thanks again for joining. For now, and
Yes,
we're gonna
sir.
circle back.
Yo, Grand
nice
G,
meeting you, bro.
we got a rap, Grand G. We in the
I
building.
got you, dog. I see you out there. We're gonna talk.
Yo, we in the building. Stay
All right.
blessed. Thank you, G Dash.
I got you, good brother.
All right,
All
peace.
right,
Peace out.
peace.
5-0 guessing.
All right, good people. Now, again, as y'all know, y'all watching Hats Off with G Dash Jones. That was just updating your calendar. This is how we say hello. That was the hello. That's how I wave at people, okay? Now that we done kind of cycled through some of the things that y'all can do for the weekend, now we're gonna dive in to some of the things with this brother Grand G. Now, if y'all don't know, again, when I say hip hop pioneer, right? You know, in ways that people don't even know. When I say hip hop pioneer, I mean literally from Riverside. Hold up, done created a movement 30 years later that they still like, you know, just feeling it. It turns into something that sounds like, hold up, y'all hear it, y'all hear it. Skirt. You see what I'm saying? Riverside Bucket 2-6. 30 years later, they making remixes with the vibes.
Right.
Foundation of hip hop.
Right.
Also, literally, started the health and hip hop, the health, hope, and hip hop foundation.
Mhm.
Right? Boom. Betterment Productions. Bing bong. Hold up, we're not done. I said, the hip hop parade. Hold up, we're not done. And you know, and I saved this one because this is the most significant for last. Also, the fighter, right? Bing, bing, bow, bow. I said, bow. Okay, the survivor. What? I'm a survivor. Say what? Okay, multiple myeloma survivor and fighter, knocking it out. Bow, bow, bow. What? Listen. I should throw the middle finger up to cancer from him. He told me to tell y'all that. Okay. Craig G, sir, how are you?
Man, I'm doing good, brother. First of all, I love your energy. You know, I hope I can keep up with you on that note. But yeah, I'm doing good. My health is good. I can't wait to get into that aspect of it too, because it's really my whole mission and what's driven me from this point. But I'll let you. You know, I'll turn it back over to you, and we can get this
Well,
cracking.
let's just start off. Hey, tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Uh, so, as you well know, a lot of people don't know my government. If you know my government, then we really, really cool. But I'm Oya Gilbert. I grew up on the east side, E-Way all day in Wilmington, 9th and L, you know, BVD, 631, all those characters from back in the day. Went to Glasgow High School, and that kind of how I started my journey as far as, you know, rapping. Uh, I was a nerd, for real. I definitely was a nerd, and it was a crazy situation. I went to the 11th grade talent show at Glasgow High School, and I never forget that moment. I was writing rhymes in my basement, and I really didn't sound like the other people that was spitting in the area, and that was on purpose. My idols was Big Daddy Kane and KRS One, but I was, like I said, I was a nerd, so my rhymes was very, and you know, I felt like they were like too intelligent as opposed to, they didn't have that street swag. You know, like in my era, it was Disco B's, it was the Yorkie D's, the Doc D's, and Cut Wiz, and even before that, you got to pay homage to you know, Twin B, rappers like Seven Up and those kind of cats, and Kenny G. So I just didn't have that. So I really kind of kept my thing in a bubble. So the 11th grade talent show was my coming out party. Uh, and I wasn't no dummy, so I was like, I'm not coming on stage by myself because like I said, I was a nerd, but I wasn't one of them kind of nerds that got bullied or anything. I just, you know, I was a nerd. So I tried to find the most popular dude in school. His name was Preston. I want to say his last name was Preston Pearson, but I could be wrong. But his name was Preston. He was a really cool dude, and he beatboxed. So I asked my man, I was like, yo, can you team up with me and do the beatbox? And I'm gonna go on stage. So we practice and all that. And yeah, so we went on stage. We had our little Run DMC outfits on, and I spit my lyric. I can't remember, but I know it's like the beginning of it was like, the voltage I inflict through your body will surge, defeat you like the Transformers. We will merge. You know, I don't know the whole thing, but those are my first two lines. And you got to think about that was 87 ish, around that time. So, but to my surprise, a lot of the people was feeling me, you know, and girls started running up and go, oh yeah, and at that moment, I was like, this is what I want to do, and so that's kind of how the birth of Grand G started, and then it developed. And I want to make sure at this particular time, I make sure I give all the right people their kudos for the creation of myself, because it just didn't happen by itself. And so as I came out of that talent show and did my thing, I was writing and writing more. And then I ran into, it was a girlfriend I was going with at the time. Her brother was a DJ, and his name was Jeff Chalmers, and we call him DJ Jeff C. And he had a homie named Frank Parks. Frank Parks was on the east side too. I can't remember the apartments over there by the police station, but that's where he lived. And there was another brother named D. He had one of those little Suzuki Samurais. They was hot back in the day. I don't know how old you are, but they was hot back in the day. He had a thumping system in it. And so that's where I got the grooming and got the grittiness of my lyrics to like hone in my skills, because they were critiquing me, they were scratching and doing all kinds of different things like that. And Frank Parks was and Jeff was a huge component to the version of Grand G that made its way sort of to the Project X album. And yeah, so that's kind of, I just want to make sure that I give them their props. And so then it translated into meeting a guy named Troy. His name's Troy Husser, and we used to call him Real McCoy Troy. He is the one that you would say he was the Dame Dash, and I was the Jay-Z of the situation. And he had the paper. And the funny story, this is a really unique story. I a lot of people don't know I was homeless at the time. Like, a lot of people don't really know that. Even when I was going to school, I was homeless. I had some issues at home, but this guy took me off the street for real, and so I definitely can't ever take that away from him. And I just met him one day through my uncle, and we talked and had a conversation. He was like, "Yo, what you want to do?" I said, "Man, I want to rap. That's what I want to do." And we had a nice, really long conversation. And the next day, this dude took me to Philly on Art Street and bought me a bunch of equipment. He bought me a Yamaha sampler, and then he took me over South Bridge to his warehouse, and it was called the Husco. And he told me, "This is your new job." And he took me up the street, and I could stay there at the Husco, and we went hard. I went hard, like, yeah, for somebody to invest in me like that, because at that time frame, I was really lost, and for him to believe in me and to do that, I wanted to make sure I paid him back, and so I was on it, and I learned that equipment is, that's 24/7. That's what I did, and so that is where Project X started to become what it was. And originally, I was supposed to do my own album, which was going to be called "This Is a Test," and I sampled the "Cares One Thing" from my philosophy when it started. "This is a test," and we was going to do that, and we went to a studio in New York because I didn't want to record locally. And so this is no shade to none of the people locally. Like, I got mad love for the local people. However, my thought process at that time frame, man, was like, if you wanted to be, in my mind, if I wanted to be a dope MC, my measuring stick was the people who were already on. And those people were in New York. They weren't local. And so that's why I said we got to go record and do that and do the 1-2 there. But the first mistake we made is we went to a studio with some white boys in it, and yeah, it didn't go well. You know what I'm
Wait,
saying?
they didn't know how to mix you or engineer you.
Yeah, they didn't know how to engineer. It didn't come out with the oomph and it had that same punch on it. And I was like, "Yo, man, can you turn up the bass a little bit?" They was like, "Oh no, the decibels," and they was talking using really audio science, which there is a science to it. But I'm like, nah, I'm hearing hip hop songs that got way more thump than that. So I talked to Troy, and we got the opportunity to go to another studio, and that's when I was going to what they call Power Play Studios, and that was his name was Ivan Doc Rodriguez. He was an engineer there. He was doing all the hot jokers, Rakim, uh, the Juice. He was just doing all kinds of cats. I'm trying to think of the cats. He's doing EPMD, artists like that, and that was in Queens. So I was recording in this warehouse, and like I said, that didn't go well. And so Troy had some family members that really wanted to get put on too. So He had a cousin, and her name was Robin, and so that was part of like the Silk and Satin. That's how where Silk and Satin came from. And so the objective of mine was to produce all these folks and then come up with this compilation album that would be really dope. So Silk and Satin was part of his family, and then Fred G and F3, they was people I knew, so they came over to the warehouse. And then you had IOR. Now they had their own product already, and we were trying to round out the album. And so we kind of put out a feeler like, yo, we want to put some artists on the thing. And they came and auditioned. And their joint was dope. And they had Seconds of a Dope Rhyme. And so that came on the album. And then we made a strategical move to try to get radio play. So we went up to Philly and got Todd One, who had the song "Give Me Something Radical," and he was like a DJ on the radio station at that time frame. So we put his song on there. And then, of course, you had my group, Third Dynasty, which was Shant Money, DJ Supreme, and to my wonderful, wonderful friend. It was Zeke the Freak, rest in peace, or sleep in peace rather. Zeke the Freak, who passed away. I think it was last year, and he was like my hype man. But he wasn't just my hype man on stage. He was he was the guy that was always telling me, "You great, you the greatest." You just, he was that guy. You need one of those type of people in your life,
He was
and he was
pouring into
that.
you before they had terms like pouring into you. You know
Yeah,
what I'm
right.
saying?
Exactly. Before you had pouring into you, and you know, he was that guy. Late night, if he wasn't hanging out with Troy, if he had time, he was with me. He would be in the studio 2, 3 o'clock, or at the warehouse 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. And then I had other cats that was, around me, like the 631 Posse. That was my squad from the east side. And I had MC Tone. It was cats like Busy Boy. And I hope I'm probably going to be forgetting something. You had Hash Love and all those different types, John Jones and all those different folks. And so they were pouring into me too. But the magic didn't happen until MC Isaiah came out of the Riverside projects. And then he came over to the Husco and was like, "Hey man, you making hot stuff, and I need you to make a track for me." And I was like, "What?" So this is my first time ever getting involved with getting financially paid because he paid me. He was like, "I'm gonna pay you," and I was like, "What? You gonna pay me? Say less." That obviously wasn't the terms back then, but he came through and said, "Hey, I want you to, make this track for me." So I made the track first, and he said he wanted something for the hood. So I was like, "Cool, give me a little bit." And so we had pagers back then. So I made the joint, and then I paged him and said, "Come back, check it out. Let me see what you think. If not, I'll go back to the drawing board." He loved it, and he said, "I'm gonna go off and write something." And so that's what he did. And he came back. Let me make sure I chime in on a couple other characters before I move on into the story, because I don't want. There's so many people. So there was some other cats on my squad too. It was D Nasty, who was the White Terrell, and then I got Exotic, Slick Rick, whatever. He got many, many names, but one of my main, in the infamous words of MC Isaiah, I can't say the cuss word, but he's my road dog, which is Rick Robinson. And so all these cats were a part of this era for me. And like I said, Isaiah took the track. He came back and he had that lyric and he spit it for me in the Husco thing, and it was dope. But there was like some lines I really wasn't. I'm like, and I was like, "Yo, man, you open to a little feedback?" He was like, "Yeah, Grandy, what you got?" So I told him a couple of lines that really wasn't hot. So I rewrote those lines for him, and so he was like, "Dope." And next thing you know, I said, "Yo, man, I got the perfect place for you to record. We're gonna go to New York." And at that time frame, I had already been in Power Play Studios, had already been in D&D Studios working with DJ Premier and Gangstar. I had, and over top of, on the floor above D&D Studios was a studio called Airwave Studio, where the 45 King and the Flavor Unit recorded. And so I tried to used to always hang up there in the hallway, because I'm like, yeah, I got to get in contact with the 45 King. I got to catch up with this dude. Never caught up with him personally, like to rap to him. I did catch up with him at some functions, but I did record in that studio. And so I was like, we're gonna record. So we record Riverside Bucket 26 in the same studio that 45 King and the whole Flavor Unit recorded in. And
Wait,
so,
hold on. Did you
go
bump
ahead,
into
what
the
do you
flavor
think?
unit?
Huh?
Did you bump into the flavor unit? Queen Latifah and Naughty by Nature
Yes,
and
I didn't bump into Naughty by Nature, but I did bump into Queen Latifah and Apache. Those were the two I did bump into. And so we did the joint in there, and one of the things that people might not know, one of the nuggets is, so they had never been in New York. And when you record back then in those days, it was a process. Like it wasn't digital like these young cats can do. It's real simple cut and paste. You had to record a track. So one by one. So if you had a track that had 10 things in it, or song that had 10 tracks in it, and it was a 4 minute song, you had to record each thing 4 minutes at a time. So that took 40 minutes just to lay the beat down. So if you had something super intricate, you could lay the beat down for an hour or so. A lot of cats didn't know that, so they in the studio getting a little anxious, giving me anxiety. Like I'm like, yo, dog, relax. So I said, hey man, y'all ain't never been to New York, right? They're like, nah. I said, man, why don't you hit the strip or something? Go look at a peep show, do something, but get out of here. So that's what they did. I said, when you come back in an hour, this joint will be laid. So that's what they did. They came back, recorded it, and the part in the hook, there's two people that came. It was MC Isaiah and Peebo, and everybody know Peebo from back in the day. He's like a hood legend. So Peebo in the background while the track's playing, and when the hook come in, Riverside Bucket 26, it was just like that. And so he was in the studio going, yeah, where I'm from, and doing all that. And I'm listening in the background. I'm like, yo, that sounds kind of hot. I'm like, yo, why don't you go in the booth and do that? He's like, really? I said, yeah, yeah, do that. So that's how that piece got in there. It wasn't something that was originally supposed to be in there. And then the scratching on the song, I really needed DJ F3 to do it, but nobody was really available. So I had to jump on the wheels of steel. So if you really listen to the song, you can kind of hear the mistakes a little bit. It's not clean. It's not polished, but it came out the way it was supposed to come out. And so that's how Riverside Bucket 26 came to be. That's how Project X came to be from its works, and that's how it really
hold on,
ran
I
deep for
gotta
me.
bring it off. I was like, y'all hear it? What?
Yeah, yeah,
Y'all
right,
see it? What,
right,
friend? Hold on, I gotta
right,
hear this mix. Listen,
right,
stop
right,
it. Boy, what?
right,
Okay. Okay, I gotta know how it was like 15 of y'all, 36 of y'all, 82 of y'all in Project X, right? But it was your album. Like it's listed as yours.
right.
But it's such a collab, and like even hearing that story, I didn't realize the thought process was you weren't even just the rapper, you were the producer of a lot of the whole circumstance.
Hmm.
How did you kind of pick and choose who was going to go? How did you arrange that?
Well,
That's a lot.
uh, it wasn't easy. I can tell you that. So,
Right.
you got a lot. You have egos, and everybody wants to get on. And one of my things ever since I've been young, man, is like real talk. And it's one of the things that I feel one of the issues is with Delaware hip hop even today is like we have to understand, man. Everybody can't go first. You know what I'm saying? We can all go and eat, but somebody got to go first. It don't have to be me, but one of the things we got to do and learn is we got to support each other as artists. If you look at any other genre, or not any other genre, but if you look at any other like area, down south, West Coast, and all those cats, if you go back and look at that history, all them other rappers that we wound up turning in saying was dope, they was in the videos with the guy that had to go first. They was part of it, and they just fell back and waited their turn. Because one of my things is that I'm big on is like I don't care if we go first because once I arrive, I'm gonna set my own stage. I'm gonna make my own way. But somebody gotta go first, and we gotta put the egos down. So to say all that is that yeah, I did the producing. A lot of people don't know I did all the designing of the album cover. It was a place called what was that place called? Kinko's. I think it was called Kinko's back in the day. And so we didn't want to pay disc makers all that money. Maybe we should have, but I was like, oh, I can do that. And I was always big on like trying to figure out, I always wanted to learn. So, I did that. I looked at disc makers and how they did it. So I went to Kinko's and I spent a lot of money making mistakes, But I laid the whole album cover out, so that was pretty dope as well. But how we got the artists together was real simple. Uh, I just said, listen, we're gonna work on one at a time. This is how we're gonna do it. So got with Silk and Satin and say what kind of vibe and energy we got. So we kind of worked together with the two ladies, myself, and then Troy, and we came up with, okay, we're gonna do this song, Get Off My Tip, because they didn't want to do something like real ladylike, like Salt and Pepper and all them. They wanted to come out a little bit more rugged. So they had this joint they wanted to do Get Off My Tip. So came up with that track, and then Fred G and them, Fred, as far as Fred's super versatile, so he wanted to do something more like a party joint, and it was also a concept on how albums was made back then. Back then, an album, the songs each song told a story, but told an overall story of what the album typically was, what the title of the album was. It's not like today where you can just close your eyes and pick any Joker's album and you'll have the same type of sound on it. You couldn't buy a Public Enemy record back in the day and hear a LL Cool J type of song on it. It just wasn't happening. There was a lot of pride back then, and how and professionalism. We called it biting. You didn't bite people's style. You didn't bite people's swag. You wouldn't hear Jazzy Jeff and Fresh Prince song on an X Clan, or I mean, I'm jumping ahead of myself. That for on a Big Daddy Kane album, you wouldn't hear that type of stuff. Nor would their crews have that kind of flavor. So that was really the thing that I was, trying to accomplish with the Project X album. Why we chose the Todd One thing, why we chose IOR and chose those different people and chose the type of songs that everybody had. And then my three songs, I had the most of on the album. And because if you remember, I originally was making my own album. So I already had more songs than the rest of them anyway. And so that's how we came to be on working with those artists. And it was, don't get this too confused. It was dope working with them. We had so much fun because back then times was just a lot more pure, a lot more wholesome. You didn't have to worry about no foolishness. You just was having fun and doing hip hop. And so yeah, it was just a really dope time for me and that squad.
So okay, I gotta know. So why is there only one Project X album and there is no, or there's only one Grand G album, depending on how you look at it, but neither have a second album? Like there's no other. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, so Project X. So the reason why I stopped doing music was as I was living in New York for a small period of time, and like I told you before, I was hanging around with Gangstar and them. Premier definitely validated my production skill. Like I knew I was on the right path when I watched Premier and I was in the studio with him and their names are Keith and Chris. So that's that's how I called them. And so we was in there, talking and busting up because they used to work out of D&D Studios. And so it was just a really great atmosphere to watch them put songs together, and I knew I was on the right path on that note. And then, of course, inside of Power Play Studios, which Ivan Doc Rodriguez, which was in Queens, is where I wound up mixing Project X. Is where I got really the first taste of how to get this done. He had the SSL mix board. That was the only mix board back in the day that was fully, well, actually the only mix board that was automated. So back in the day, if you was doing dropouts, or we call them dropouts or punch-ins, and you had to, drop all the tracks, you had to press all those buttons simultaneously live. And if you messed up, you had to rewind it and start all over again. This board allowed you to do what we do now with digital stuff, but to slide the faders and all that. But Doc taught me how to mix. Doc taught me how to be professional. Doc taught me a lot, and Doc brought me in the studio with I got an opportunity to hang out with EPMD and K Solo, and got to see how they got, and I watched them record. So what you saying? And so I got an opportunity to do that. Doc also introduced me to listen. I was the first person to hear outside of Biz Markie. I was the first person to hear "You Got What I Need." And that joint, because he played it for me and was like, he took me in this little side room. It was called the B room. It had a little mix. It had a little reel to reel in there. He's like, "Yo, Grant, come check this joint out." And I was like, he said, "I'm telling you, this gonna be big." And he played it, right? And I'm hearing Biz Markie sing all out of key and everything. And I'm like, dog, that is trash. That's not going to make it. He said, I'm telling you, it's going to be big. So what did I know? You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, I don't know what I was talking about because it was huge. But I definitely got to hear that. And so I learned a lot. As I told you, I didn't want to be local. You know what I'm saying? I just didn't. And I got the opportunity to be up there, and that opportunity was presented to me by the gentleman I told you, Troy, Real McCoy Troy. He presented or gave me the ability to have that opportunity, a opportunity that a lot of cats locally never had. And so that's how I really learned how to be that. So how it never progressed from Project X is we actually went to go do some. Now I was going to record my album after Project X, and all the equipment we had. We were going to D&D Studios, and we parked. It was on 42nd Street off of Broad, and we parked. And at that time frame, it was a police station there, a precinct. We parked in front of there, and typically what you did back then was you parked and you went upstairs, make sure everything was Gucci inside of the studio, your time, they wasn't running over before you started lugging all this equipment up, up these stairs. So we had locked the doors and everything. Went up there, checked everything out. When we came back, somebody had broke into the car and stole all of the equipment, everything. And so if you understand how things worked back then, man, it was countless hours. I mean, I can't even tell you how many man hours was put in listening to countless records and sampling and storing them and everything. And they stole everything. And honestly, they could have took the equipment. It was the disc that I needed. I could have bought new equipment, but I couldn't get that music off those discs. So that set me back. It just killed the whole vibe. And so me and Troy kind of went our separate ways. And then I had a daughter on the way, and so I chose my daughter over hip hop. That's why that's why the music never came out. I couldn't see my daughter needing Pampers and me trying to run around trying to be a rapper, especially at that point where I was going to be starting all the way over again. So I made the choice to invest in my daughter, which was the greatest decision I ever made.
I know that's right. I know that's right. Wow. Wow. So pretty much you was almost a studio rat essentially for a minute
Yeah,
in
yeah,
New
yeah,
York until that rotten apple got the biting. Apple bites,
yeah.
boy. They don't be lying. That
Right.
rotten apple bites. Okay. Yeah, this is amazing. All right. So so then you kind of step away from hip hop, right? Boom,
In the
you're done.
public eye, in the public eye,
Hold
I
on.
stepped away from hip
Hold
hop.
on, what's that mean? What's that mean?
Well, I still, eventually I went and got my own equipment. I bought it, I finally got my first MPC, and I really, because I was working with a Yamaha sampler. We had to be creative to sample back in the day. You only had 3 seconds of sampling, so we would speed the records up on the 1200 to 76 RPMs, and then you would get more sample time that way. So it was all kind of little tricks you could do. We had to splice tape together. It was old school, like, and young cats wouldn't even know what to do if they had to fool with this stuff.
Hold,
But the point is,
hold on. By the way, in case you're unaware, I'm talking to the people in the back. They used to record music on things that look like Scotch tape. They look like thick Scotch tape, and you just the music. I know you how did it get music on. It sounds crazy when you
right,
say this out loud. I'm not looking at digital life, but yes, they recorded music on film, physical
right,
film that looked like Scotch tape, and they would have to run it from one thing to another, from one reel that was spinning to another reel that was spinning. I'm just telling
right,
y'all what it is. If you don't know what a reel is, look it up. Not the thing on Instagram. When I
right.
say real, when they say real
Real,
to real, it
the
ain't got
real.
nothing to do with a video on
Right,
Instagram.
right,
These reels,
right.
and this is how the music was recorded, and it was stored on DATs on these little
But they weren't
yeah.
actually little, because if you wanted a lot of tracks, depending on what size, depending on what thickness of that tape, that's how many tracks you had. So when you went like I said, Power Play Studios, the tape was about that thick, and I'm sure people seen in movies where they got the thing on a machine and doing all that. That's pretty much what a reel to reel was. And the ones we had maybe at the Husco was maybe like 4 tracks, so it was a thinner version, more like a cassette tape size, if people know what a cassette tape is. And then it transformed into digital, which was a DAT tape. It was a digital audio tape. But to your point, we did record on, record old school that way. But I bought an MPC, and because that's what Premiere had. You know what I mean? Other people was using SP1200s. I mean, not SP1200. That was the, what was that joint called? I might have. So it was the 1200 turntables. I forgot the beat machine now at the top, off the top of my
Yeah,
head.
hold up.
But
One more time, just some people
uh,
in the back.
uh,
Now, there's a difference between turntables that people just mix on
mhm,
and play music on, and then when you have an MPC, the MPC can store sounds,
right,
and then you can press a button and play certain sounds and certain riffs back, which
right.
makes it a lot easier to
It
make
was
the
tricky.
music. So go
The
ahead,
other
Kevin.
joint was an 808. The other joint was an 808, and then a lot of people was using the TR 808. And then, but that new version that came out was that MPC, which you just said. You could sample more. It was an Akai joint, and it had pads on it, and you could tell each pad what to do. Just it changed the whole hip hop game. Premiere was using that, and so I said I had to get one. However, I really didn't. By the time I got one, I really didn't know how to use it. So yeah, it was a. So I had to reach out. I had to use a lifeline. So I reached out to a young brother at the time. His name was Richard Raw, and
Oh,
I said,
okay.
I said,
Wow.
so I went to Richard Raw, and I was like, yo, you using one of these joints, right? He's like, yeah. Oh, Grandy, I'll show you how to. You know what I mean? And so once he kind of gave me he gave me a crash course 101. I was able to take off from there, and then I went back into that same process like the Husco, but it was all behind the scenes, and I recorded all kinds of music, man. Like I always continue to evolve with hip hop, but just behind the scenes, and because I love hip hop, I always have.
So
Hip
hip
hop
hop. Well,
actually saved my life.
so it's still in your heart. It never
Oh yeah,
leaves your heart.
absolutely, absolutely.
Wow.
It's never
Wow.
left.
And I gotta ask you this before I even move forward. I gotta know because you brought up Richard Raw. I've had an episode with Richard Raw on my
Mhm.
show. Specifically, one of my favorite moments of that episode was when he said he walked into a barbershop, I believe, as a young boy and challenged you to a battle. Do you recall this moment? I need to know.
Yeah. Yeah, so it wasn't a barbershop. So back in the day, I had a rim shop. Like back yes, I had a rim shop on 29th and Market, or a little right off 29th and Market. And yeah, I was in there, doing what I do, just working. And here he come in with a entourage of folks, and
Oh
like,
wait, hold
and
on.
it wasn't hostile.
Nah.
It was more like it was more like I need to get this done type of attitude. And if anybody knows the old movie where Run DMC and LL comes in, they like no more auditions, no more auditions, and he don't leave me like box. You know what I mean? It was kind of more like that kind of joint. He was like, hey, Grand G, I'm an MC, blah blah blah. I'm gonna battle you. I'm like, huh? I'm like, man, go ahead with that. You know what I'm saying? Especially at that time frame, I was on some other kind of time. But he was like, "Oh, I'm about to." I was like, "Okay, then, all right." So we turned on the track, and I did my 1-2. He definitely did his 1-2, and I was thoroughly impressed with the. I was thoroughly, I don't want to call him a young man, but he was at the time, to me. And I was like, "Yo, this dude nice." So I had to definitely. I'm one of them people like, if you nice, you nice. I'm gonna give you props. If you not, I'm not. I'm not a hater. I never have been. That's not. That's not in my DNA. So he was nice, and I had to tell him like, yo, dog, you official. Now I never knew what that meant to him at the time frame. Years later, I found out it was definitely a profound moment. But for me, it was just paying respect to another creative person, and that's really all it was.
Wow, look at you, man. Listen, you was birthing a nation in some ways.
I don't know. I don't know about all that, bro.
Listen, but you were at the foundation of this hip hop situation, especially this local hip hop scene, which people don't understand what Delaware in local hip hop mean. Shouts out to my man Tuck, aka DJ Rush, because he got some stories. Yeah, so like,
Yeah.
and I've been blessed to hear, but it's been a lot of places stopped here on the pass through, and the fact that you were even a part of kind of building it and giving Delaware its own hit, its own music, you know what I'm saying, up in its own moniker is huge. Now, one of the wildest things that you say, like even now, you just said, hip hop means so much to you till this day because you say it saved your life. How did hip hop save your life?
Yeah, so I was I told you I was a nerd, but a lot of people don't know I was going through a lot of tumultuous things in my household, which is why I became homeless. I had to leave my household because of the energy inside of that the house. But while I was in the house, that's all I did. Hip hop came out, and I used to play the drums. My uncles played music. One of my uncles played the drums. My other uncle played the bass guitar. They used to be in my grandfather's basement. I used to peek and sneak all the time. They would try to beat Parliament, Funkadelic, all them different groups back in the day. And so my uncle that had the drums was teaching me how to play the drums. And I remember I told you I was a nerd, so I like technology and all that stuff, but I was trying to get it. And then that's when hip hop came out. And I seen an outlet for that aspect of I just didn't need a bunch of people. I could be my own band. And so I gravitated towards that. And then when I gravitated towards that, my home life, when I was ever in a situation, that's what I listened to, hip hop, to try to block out the things that were going on in my house. And so, yeah, that's what made me start writing, and I vented through hip hop. And I just never spoke those words until I got older. I kept my original nerd version for Project X. I didn't really feel comfortable. I felt like put my peoples on blast was like not a really good idea, but it really was a lot of pain I was in. So, eventually that did do so, and that's when I think that other version of Grand G came out when I finally when I finally hit the streets and started doing block stuff, and then that's when that version came out. But yeah, that's how hip hop saved my life, man. It was an outlet. And it's a soundtrack to a lot of people's lives that are my age. It saved probably a whole lot of other people's lives. I'm quite sure if you did a tally, man, it saved a lot of people's lives. And so that's essentially what happened to me.
I'm listen, that is it's fire. I can even get now. I understand even the connection between you and production because you were already a drummer, right?
Yes.
You were already into production before hip hop production was a thing.
Right.
So kind of even cutting, mixing those records to create a thing, you was already kind of involved in it. So by the way, it was a lot easier for you to be able to move about and kind of dive in because of all of that,
Hmm.
right? And then even learning to express yourself through the music, and I mean escaping your household made it real easy to just go to New York and do whatever. Like screw it, you
Right.
know
Right.
what I'm
Right. Right. It
saying?
wasn't a
That's a
whole
limit.
lot going on for me locally. So I was like, man, let me go. When I got the opportunity, yeah. So it's really dope, man. Yep.
That is fire. And then right now, you go from hip hop saving your life to you leaning into hip hop in ways to help save other people's lives with the Help Hope and Hip Hop Foundation. What made you want to lean into hip hop to help it kind of save other people?
Well, I had to go back to, and this probably lead to answering a bunch of questions. And I don't know how much time we got, because I got
Good.
my history got a lot.
We cooking right now. As much time as you got, I'm not. You don't cut off your OGs. That's what they told you. You shut up and you learn. I'm learning right now.
So really, what happened was fast forward to 2015. Um, 2015, I've never really been sick. I've had, the typical things that everybody's had, colds and things like that, but no broken bones, thank you, Jesus. And no crazy, one major surgery, but that's it. And then in 2015, I had this, what I started calling episodes, was similar to what I thought was a heart attack. And so I did what everybody else do, call an ambulance and oh Jesus, not now. And went to the emergency room. They did all these tests on me, and told me I was having an anxiety attack. And I'm like, an anxiety attack? The heck is that? I'm like, so in my mind, I'm thinking like, you talking about like the paper bag joint where you breathe? They like similar, but they was like, yeah. And they asked me about stress and, it's caused by that. Is anything, what's going on in your life? Anything stress? I said, nah, just normal stuff. Bills, baby mamas, just regular, you know what I mean? Just regular stuff, job. And they was like, nah, like something like super stressful. This is what causes it. And so I said, and this is the funny moment. I had the whole emergency room laughing. I said, well, this can't be anxiety because I said, dog, I'm black. I've been stressed my whole damn life. You know what I'm saying? So they were like, it don't work like that. Oh, yeah. Uh, so needless to say, it progressed from there. They sent me to some other doctors. And currently where I live at, I live in a very rural area. It's predominantly white, an older community. I definitely live somewhere where black people was probably getting lynched for sure. Um, and so I'm going
That's
to their
not
doc.
trust.
Hey, I'm just keeping it. Hey, listen, I'm super transparent. I'm gonna keep it 100 all the time. But the point is that they went to the doctors and they kept saying it was this, it was that, but it kept coming back. That's not what it is. And so I seen all kinds of different doctors. At some point, they started labeling me as a hypochondriac or like I was looking for pills. And I was like, yo, you better check my resume. I can't, I hate medicine. Um, and so it just kept going on and on. This went on for 2 years, dog. 2 years. And I just kept getting more sick. And at that time frame, I was raising, I was raising both of my boys. They were living with me. And so I had a full-time job. I had my own business. I was just burning the candle at both ends of the stick. I was wilding a little bit too, still wilding a little bit. And I just kept getting progressively sick, fatigue and things of that nature. And almost got into a couple car accidents, just falling asleep at the wheel. And so I started believing them. I said, maybe I do got something. So I started taking this medicine. And then what happened is I took the medicine, this anxiety medicine, and fell asleep at the wheel. Thank you, Jesus. I fell asleep at the wheel in a traffic jam locally. So I just kind of let up off the gas and crashed into a parked car. That was the moment I said, man, I'm not listening to these doctors more. I got to figure out what the heck's going on. So I kept pushing and pushing. Still didn't find anything. So 2 years later, around 2017, August, I was sick every day, all day, and I knew I was going to die. So I decided to call up my life insurance company and try to increase my life insurance policy to try to get my kids more. I already had a nice policy, but I was on like, man, if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna try to get them all the bread I can get them. When I called them up, they sent me to their doctors, and they found this unnatural protein in my urine and blood. Now, mind you, I told you I've seen all kinds of doctors. They taking blood and urine all the time. However, you got to be testing for the right things. So the insurance company gave me these papers and said, something's wrong with you. Take this to your doctors. At that point, I went through 4 primaries and all kinds of ologists and specialists. And I took it there. 2 months later, they gave me a bone marrow biopsy. And it was like the day after Christmas, 2017. They said, yo, man, remember that cancer, that nasty cancer? You have it. And it's called multiple myeloma. And it's a bone marrow cancer. It's a blood cancer, and it's incurable. And I was like, it was a Charlie Brown teacher moment. All I heard was womp womp womp. I didn't even hear nothing after that. And all I just kept thinking about is my kids, like my boys, like who gonna raise them? And I told God, I was like, man, I want some more time. And so yeah, I didn't even do like nothing like the movies. It wasn't no sit down, brace yourself. He came in all chipper, and I was like, "Yeah, Mr. Gilbert." So I was like, "Oh, I might be Gucci." He was like, "Nah, you're not." And so I actually left the office without asking him a single question, and I found out my true diagnosis and what I could do in a parking lot around the corner from my house, it was like a hole in the wall bar in the parking lot because he gave me his card before I left and said, "You ain't got no questions." I was like, "Nah," because I was in shock. And so I called him. He answered the phone, and we talked for like an hour and a half in the car. And he told me what stage I was in, what I could possibly do, and so it started there. And once that happened, uh, I was basically trying to figure out how to save my own life. But as I was doing so, I learned that this disease affects African Americans 2 to 1. And I learned about all kinds of disparities that was going on in the healthcare space because I had never been sick. And I was like, man, this is crazy. Like, the whole delayed diagnosis thing, my whole situation, I'm like the poster child for, uh, disparities that affect us black and brown people. And so I just felt this, I got the advocacy bug in me. I just was like, yo, more people should know about this. So that's kind of how that began. I started telling people, first I started telling my family, and, trying to get them on up to speed with what was going on. And then I had to go through treatment. And, that was a tough road. And thank God at the time frame I had a boss, care partner, and her name's Carrie, and she rocked out with me, man. I'm not really sure if I could have made it through that process without her because she was the only person there besides my daughter, but she was the primary. So I have to give kudos to her always for that. And so once I got healthier, I wound up going through doing treatment of chemo, which is called VRD, which is a smaller version of or lighter version of chemo. Then up working my way up to what they call a stem cell transplant. And so a stem cell transplant is essentially they take your T cells out of you, take cells out of you. You can get what they call an auto or allo. Auto is you use your own cells. Allo is when you use someone else's cell, a donor. I was lucky enough to be able to use my own cells to be less of being, having rejection from doing this transplant. And they take your cells out in this machine, which is pretty crazy technology. They take your cells out of the machine, separate the bad cancerous cells with the good cells. Then they hit you with the 1, 2 or some aggressive chemo that knocks all your hair out and puts you down for the count, and then puts the cells back into you. And then the cells, they know exactly where to go, and then they start multiplying again. And what the hopes is that when they multiply, the cancerous ones don't multiply back. And so I had to go through that process, and I did so, and it wasn't smooth at all. But through the grace of God, I bounced back a lot faster because I was 47 at the time. And so, with all that being said, I'm trying to jump forward. I went through that process. I got healthier, and I said, man, I got to do something. So I started working with the LLS and doing little speaking engagements to educate other black and brown people about this disease. And like, yo, y'all, you got back pain and you got issues.
Hold on,
Yo, yeah,
I
go
got
ahead, do
to
your thing.
time out for two
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
seconds.
yeah, do your thing.
I got three quick questions,
Go
kind of
ahead.
quick. A, and you were going to go into it. I could see it. What were the signs that people should be looking for this? I know you mentioned back pain, but what are some of the things people should be watched out for?
Well, number one, that's one of the huge ones. Back pain, fatigue is another one. Typically, this disease typically affects, I would say, more seasoned people. I don't like to say older people, more marinated folks. But in their 70s. But as of now, today's time is affecting people younger. And typically, you find out when you in like the third stage because it only has 3 stages. It's a nasty cancer. It only has 3 stages, and what'll happen typically is you might cough or sneeze regular and crack your ribs because what it does is it starts eating at your bones, and that's what the disease does. It starts deteriorating or eroding your bones, and so typically that's what happens, and it attacks the smaller bones first. So your fingers, your ribs, your feet, things like that, your toes rather. And so something normal, like we cough all the time, we sneeze all the time. You ain't breaking no ribs from that, but that's what'll happen. But what you want to be mindful of or looking for is back pain. Another indicator is if you have a lot of foamy urine when you pee. And so that's another indicator. Now, a lot of times it's confusing. That's why you don't figure it out. A lot of times people see a foam in their urine and think it's that they're not drinking enough water. That could be the case. But in the same breath, this is like a different kind of foam. It's powerful. It's bubbling up like the joints that you used to put the soap in, and you know. And so that's another indicator that you might want to do it. And a standard blood test won't detect this. You got to specifically ask them to test for this. And I'm really, I know all the music stuff's great, but this is like super important to me here. So I'm going to really go hard with it. Like I'm really stressing to my black and brown men and women is to really, if you're having some of these issues, or somebody in your family been complaining for years about their lower back hurting and things of that nature, and they just ain't really figuring it out, and people saying, well, the muscle relaxers and all these pills, I know you might not want to, but I'm telling you, don't let pride get in the way of prevention, especially us black men. We don't want to go to the doctors. Like the emergency room is our PCP. We got to cut that out. And I know we don't trust the healthcare system, Tuskegee, and all kinds. I get all that. I get all that. I get all that. But what you need to do is get yourself educated so they can't pull stunts on us like that. They got laws in place now to help prevent those things now. What you have to do is get yourself educated. And once you get yourself educated, then you can make decisions. And that ain't just with health. That's with everything in life. Get yourself educated. Then you can make sound decisions, and people can't pull a wool over your eyes, whether it's a black person or any ethnicity. So I'll say that. So that's some of the signs for multiple myeloma to be looking for.
Now, once you got the diagnosis, and the weird part about that, hearing it to me, is it was a blessing, right? It was a scary blessing, right? Because for some people, they would have received that as a death sentence. But quite frankly, when you went to that doctor, you already thought you was going to die.
Right,
So at that point, life was the only other option. Might as well live. So
Right.
it gave you a different kind of option. So how long was that treatment, and what was that like? Like, how did you fare with that?
So to your point, you're right. I was already, it was a crazy situation. It was a bittersweet moment because you think about it, I was sick for 2 years. And they kept telling me, and it was great to know what I didn't have, but in the same breath, I still was getting more sick. It was like one of those moments that, like, I knew I wasn't crazy. Like I'm telling these cats, like, dog, something's wrong with me. So that was a sense of relief, that I knew I wasn't crazy, but then I knew I had another journey in front of me. And I never forget my daughter telling me, um, Dad, you've been through a lot. This is just another one of them speed bumps. You gonna do what you do. She didn't seem phased at all. And my daughter, if people know me, the people that really know me know me. My daughter's my joint. She's my world. And for her not to be all breaking down, I was like, okay, yeah, you're right. We're gonna face this thing head on. So, like I said, the treatment was to do the VRD to get the cancer under control to qualify for a stem cell transplant. Then they needed to extract 2 million T cells from me at that time frame to even qualify to get a stem cell transplant. And I was able to get 4.6 million. So that was dope. And if you get a whole lot of stem cells, they will actually freeze some of them and in case you need another one. But
So wait, in order to get those cells, they literally taking it out the bone.
yeah, so they take it out to get the T cells. They actually hook you up to a machine that's similar to a dialysis machine. So they take it out of your blood. Your bone marrow is constantly producing these cells. In order to diagnose the myeloma truly, they do a bone marrow biopsy, and that's when they do drill inside your bone into the bone marrow and extract bone marrow samples out of you. But the extraction of the cells to do the stem cell is just in your blood. They just hook it up. Now, obviously, you got a port, and they put a port in you because they ain't got time to keep poking you in your vein. So they put a port that in your chest, and it's goes close to your heart, so that they can do this process. And so they did that, and then after that, you wind up being on what they call maintenance treatment, which is what I've been on for going on almost 7 years now. And that's taking a oral pill of chemo every single day. So I've been taking chemo every single day since 2000, well, since February 1st, 2018.
So I'm now I feel aged. So in my brain, chemo is like you almost in this microwave like situation. You know what I'm saying? But when you tell me you taking it like a pill, my brain don't even understand how we take a microwave, put it into a pill, and then eat that situation. Like
Yeah,
How do you eat radiation? Like, what is happening?
so
I'm confused.
there's just two different types of versions. So
Okay.
you have the IV version that's a little bit more of an aggressive type of chemo. This is, don't get it confused. This is definitely chemo, but it's in a pill and an oral format, and so it's a lighter dosage. You know, it's a lighter milligram dosage, but it still affects you in the same way. And what it is I'll give you the analogy that one of these specialists gave me for it to maybe to make sense to the listeners. Uh, Take a golf course. You know, golf course is pristine. The grass is dope, you know, everything. But if somebody don't take care of that, weeds will start growing up, right? So the great pristine grass is your good cells. The weeds and stuff is the multiple myeloma. That's the bad cells. And if you don't do anything about them weeds, they will suffocate the other grass. They'll keep growing. And everybody done seen weeds in their yards. We from the hood. Y'all done seen weeds. They grow up out the concrete and everything. That's what'll happen there. And so when you go through this process, the ideal is to extract all that good grass from them weeds, then hit it with the heavy chemo so that you kill everything. So all you got is just good dirt, fertilized dirt. You feel me? And then you're going to put the cells that they extracted, that good grass, back. You're gonna plant it back into this dirt and watch it grow. And then once it grows, what you got to do, like anybody's good lawn, especially on a golf course, you have to maintain it. You have to keep fertilizing, keep the weeds out. That is what the chemo I'm taking. The chemo after the fact is called maintenance chemo. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah, so it's not even the same. So it's not the same chemo that you had to deal with to get it to go away. That's not the same chemo that you take now to maintain it. After they put in kind of the good cells,
Correct.
if you will.
It's a different type of chemo. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, now, but the after effects, right? Because now, when I think of chemo, I think of that more aggressive style. That when you come out of chemo treatment, your body is done. Like you need a good nap, like a 5-year-old after 16 hours at the playground. Like you need one of them. Like they gonna sleep good tonight. That's what chemo do to you. So, is that what it's like? And when it's in the pill form or when it's in maintenance?
No. So you're right about the aggressive version. It definitely does that. And it takes you to what they call a neutropenic state. And so that's when that's basically when your immune system is at its most vulnerable. It's at its lowest point. And so one of the things I need to add is when you get a stem cell, so the immune system that I was born with, I no longer have that. So when you get the stem cell, you get a new immune system. It starts all over. So technically, inside my immune system's like 7 years old. You know what I'm saying? But that's how that process works. The maintenance chemo, as you can see, my hair's not falling out. I'm Gucci. You know, I got receding hairline a little bit, but that ain't from the chemo. That's from getting old. But the maintenance chemo doesn't have that effect on you. It doesn't make your hair fall out. So to everybody else, I look normal as heck. But inside though, dog, it's real. It's warfare going on.
So
Spiritual warfare, physical warfare is going on, and that's for any myeloma patient, not just me. And then there are some.
how do you feel though, like physically?
I mean, physically right now, in the grand scheme of things, I feel great. However, it's not all balloons and confetti all the time. You know, I get bone pain. That's one of the things that happens from there. And if you can't imagine, bone pain is different. Bone pain comes from the inside, and it's just an achy feeling, and you just can't get to it. There's nothing you can do to it but try to let it pass or take some more medication. And it depends on how much it is. One of the side effects from taking this chemo and the disease is neuropathy, and that can be very painful depending on what level it is, and that's a nerve issue that happens. Um, I'm trying to think of some other things that could happen to you. I mean, it's chemo, and one of the other things that chemo does, unfortunately, it opens you up to possibly other cancers. It ain't no smooth ride. That's why you need God. That's why you have to have God in your life too, because He's in control of everything. And so you got to have God in your life along with the doctors, because God been working through man since the beginning of time. If you just go read the Bible. And so we need I think you need a little bit of everything. More God though, you know, but you need medicine, and you also need holistic things. You can't just be pumping yourself with a bunch of pills all the time either. So you got to find that happy balance. You see what I'm saying?
So you had to change your eating habits too?
Absolutely. Oh, absolutely. I changed
So
them
go.
when I was sick those 2 years because I'm trying to figure out what the hell's wrong with me. I stopped smoking. I stopped everything, sugar. But yeah, you gotta do something. And so, yeah, you gotta,
So
it's not
so
like
so
you.
so so you got God and gluten free. God and gluten free. We got listen.
That's a good one. I don't have to do gluten free. Some people do, but you do got to watch what you eat. But that doesn't even matter if you don't even have cancer. That's our problem. Most of the stuff we love and the staples that's in the hood, they really not that healthy for us. I'm just being transparent. I'm be honest with y'all. But the point is, that's what make them taste so good. They're not really that healthy. But we should be doing these things before we get sick. The ideal is not try to fix it afterwards. It's to do it before we get sick. So I'm sharing it with you now. Like, yo, you need to eat right, change your diet prior to getting sick. Do it now. And you ain't got to overload yourself. Do one thing. Cut less sugar, less salt. Drink more water. Don't overwhelm yourself because that's what the enemy wants you to, that's what the devil wants you to do. He wants you to feel over, that you ain't gonna do nothing. Just do one thing at a time. But we should be doing all these practices while we healthy. We need to take care of this vessel that we got, this body, because we only get one.
Mm, absolutely. Absolutely, right? So boom. Now the thing here's where my mind goes,
Hmm.
right? So now you're aware of this, you start getting yourself together, you start educating your people, but to go from one person to a foundation, what wild taking chemo and like, because what you could have said is I'm gonna fix me, I'm gonna get mine, and I'm good. I don't really,
Right.
y'all gonna take care of y'all about there. You know what I'm saying? Y'all figure it out. But,
Right.
and by the way, COVID happened during this process. I don't even want people to understand how heavy that is
Right.
when you're in COVID. So COVID's happened, and you say we building the foundation. 6 feet apart. I'm building the foundation. Listen, how did you do that? Like,
Yeah. So I told you, man. I mean, I can't front, man. First of all, God,
yes,
and
sir.
man, I've been like this all my life, though. I've always my vision as a child was, the cats in my neighborhood, man, we would all wind up getting some kind of skill, something and do something dope together. And individually we would all be boss, but together collectively we would be unstoppable. And so I was always about that. Now, unfortunately, that ain't always the way it worked out. I had to learn that.
Right.
But the point is that, I felt like somebody before me did something. Somebody did a clinical trial. Somebody stepped outside the thing of all the stereotypes and the stigmas that we believe in to not make us do something. Somebody did that before me for me to get the technology that I had to be still sitting here talking to you on this live right now. And so I felt like because God had blessed me and I wasn't as sick as some people can be with this disease or debilitated as some can be with this disease, I felt like it was my duty to get that done. At some point, you got to go from the patient to the practitioner. At some point, you can't just keep receiving all this love and don't share it. And so I had all this information. I told you about my situation with the music. That was a blessing to be in the presence of uh, Premiere and all those things. I had to share that, with people. Same thing with this scenario. I got blessed to be in a situation where I did get some doctors eventually to help me out. I did get educated. And if anybody knows me, I told you I was a nerd. I thirst for knowledge. And so I just wanted to learn more about it. And God hit me with the advocacy bug. And so at some point, I had a conversation with God because I knew I didn't have an energy to do things the way I do it. I don't know if you can really see. I'm a passionate dude. I go in. So I felt like, God, I can't. I love hip hop, but I love this advocacy thing too. And I was like, God, I can't do both of them the way passionately the way I want to. And so one day he gave me this epiphany and he said, "Oh yeah, you can." And so that's when it was birthed. The ideal of when I was in this space of trying to learn more about my disease, I was already advocating. And one thing I learned when I was in that advocation space was, man, there's plenty of information. And one thing I want to tell the people out there, I was blessed to go to the mecca of hematology and scientists. Like I done seen researchers, all of the cats behind the scene. Those people, the people behind the scenes, the people that work in the hospitals, those people care because 9 times out of 10 they in this game because it's personal. Their family, somebody close to them, or themselves have a disease. That's how they get involved. You just don't come try to do this, you know. So that's how they get in there. So I watched that. The issue was happening where what we're afraid of, and what happens is when it goes from conception to commercialization. When it goes from that commercial, when it goes into that commercialization portion, that's where the cockamamie goes. That's where all that foolishness starts. But the people who are figuring this stuff out, them people care. I met those people, and I can tell you firsthand, this is not reading a book. So once I seen that, I was like, okay. Then I seen on the backside, there's information there, but we don't have the access, especially in underrepresented communities. But we can fix that. There's too much bread out there. This is a country that we should be able to fix a lot of things. If you just look at football players alone, they got enough bread to stop hunger, homelessness, and everything. But we don't. We say we're a democracy, but we're really about capitalism. All right, but hold on. Let me stop preaching. Let me get
Woo!
back to where I'm going. No, let me stop.
You know I was gonna
So,
let you cook though. You know I was letting you cook though.
so,
I was letting you cook though.
but, but my point is that what I saw was how the message was delivered. It was the same old 1-2. Come with some pamphlets. And you know, we from the block, man. We not, you can't hit us with that. The pamphlet, the 2-to-1 ratios. We done seen that all before. So I said, man, what happens if we change how we deliver the message? And so I was like, hey, man, I want to take hip hop and the culture and use that to teach health literacy. And then I still get to do both of my passions. And so that's how the foundation was. That's kind of how that seed, that was the seed that got the mustard seed. That was the seed that he said, he started pouring his holy water on it. And it was like, yo. And then all of a sudden, doors started opening up for me. It wasn't me, it was him. Doors started opening up. He started putting people in my life that could help me get to this bigger goal that was bigger than me. It wasn't about me anymore. It was about helping a whole bunch of people. And so he just kept putting more people, more doors. And so I just kept running with it to the point where we're at now as a foundation that we're established. We got some really big things coming up. We just dropped some really dope things. We got P.57, which is a really close friend of mine. He's from West Side, Van Bruin Street, on the hill, because you got Hilltop on the hill, then you got down bottom, forklift, fifth and forklift, and all that. But he he had stage 5 kidney renal failure for some years. Did a song with Freeway, and so we're promoting that. It's called Gift of Life, and God willing, we'll be shooting a video for it. And our concept for the foundation, and my concept for the foundation is really simple. I want to take, and this is for everybody out there that's from the block and hip hop artists, hip hop beat makers. My ideal is simply this: is to take a patient's story, a patient's journey, and combine it with a hip hop artist and turn them two things into a powerful song to make a movement. So instead of, because I'm grown now, so instead of the milk crate challenge going viral and all that cockamamie foolishness that we be doing and following, twerk outs and all that other stupidness, I ain't gonna say stupid. I'll say that other stuff.
Well, the twerk outs ain't that stupid, huh? You was like, listen, hold up. I don't want to judge y'all. You keep twerking, girl. But we need to be healthy. That's all I'm saying.
But my point is, the concept is to do this. So just like Salt and Pepper did, Let's Talk About Sex. That song charted. They played it in the clubs. We danced to it, but it was a message behind it. Why not go back to that era? That's what we're doing. And please let me not get it twisted. I'm not talking about doing like the new hip hop. We're talking about staying in the 80s and 90s, that kind of version of that kind of hip hop. And make that go platinum, make that go viral. Because the difference is, check this out. I don't need to buy $150,000 chain. I don't need to make it rain or precipitate in no clubs. I don't need none of that. What I want to do is take that money and invest it back into the community. Because see, that's how you move the disparity needle immediately when you infuse finance into an underrepresented community. That's how you change and move the needle immediately. You don't need to think about nothing else. And so what I want to do is take songs and hip hop songs that send out a powerful message, whether it be about policy, whether it be about a person's journey, and make it hard, make it dope, make you want to bop to it, make you want to memorize those lyrics to tell your husband, your spouse, or whatever, carry your ass to the doctors or get that checkup or whatever the case may be. Not that Mickey Mouse version, because we grown. We 54. I'm 54 years old. I don't watch the stuff my kids watch. I need real hip hop. I need a real. That's what original hip hop was. It had a message behind it, and so that's what the concept of the foundation is, and a lot more. One of the other things we're working on. You asked
Hold
me
on, hold,
about. Oh, go ahead,
hold on. I
stop.
want
Yep.
to take a moment. Before we do that, I want to give people who are, let's say, even if you are not a kid but a little bit younger, I want to give you an idea of this is wild to say it this way, but when you think of they not like us, right?
Mm-hmm.
That thing, right? Remove the battle part of it. Make it
Correct.
that he going at a pedophile in bars. Not saying that that's what that man is, but I am saying that that's what he's talking about.
Correct.
There's a message in how it's perceived. So when you think of your Kendrick Lamar's, your J. Cole's, those people who have the message, but they know how to make a bop. We want to be able to have a message and make a bop. Shouts out to P. Dot 57. Listen, because that album, by the way, it's his fourth album. Stop Talking to Me. Got bars on it. It's fire. He could spit, and the gift of life. It's going to hit you in your chest. It got some meat
Right.
and potatoes to it. That's why it's meat and potato music. You feel me? When you're done,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? Like, ooh,
Right.
that hit good. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? So
That
and
boy
I
good.
believe
That
that's
boy
what
good.
that's what you mean. Yeah, like it's good, get good for you. Like who seasoned
Right.
this? Delicious. So, like that's what we're saying. And that's what you're saying as far as kind of getting into that art and using that art to spread a
Correct.
message. Now, is that how you also kind of spread out from? Okay, so you get the foundation overarching to spread the message, and is that where Betterment Productions comes from? I assume.
Correct. So Betterment Productions is a pillar under the foundation, and the Hip Hop Hooray Black Men Talking Health podcast is another pillar under the foundation, and then the last one is that's what I was going to allude to is the Health, Hope, and Hip Hop block parties. See, when you talk to a person and ask them to go to a summit, we black, we ain't going to that. You hear the word summit, unless you very interested in whatever that summit's about, you ain't going.
Look,
Symposium,
I
you
ain't been
call it
to
what
a summit. I ain't
you,
been to a summit since Teen Summit. You see what I'm saying? That was the
you know
last
what I'm
summit
saying?
I've been to.
Right. So when you hear that word summit, so it's really psychological too, man. You got to start thinking, it's branding. You got to use psychology, especially on us. You got to, because we ain't slow. Whether we're in an underrepresented community or not, we're not slow. So you have to use psychology. I have seen the word block party make two sides of towns calm down just to have a block party. So imagine the difference is instead of saying a summit, say we're gonna have this health, hope, and hip hop block party. And the first inaugural one will be in Wilmington. I'm working on it currently. And so the ideal is to bring the culture there, bring the people there. And remember, I told you about infusing finance into the community. The ideal is to approach the situation as such, is that instead of you're going to come here and we're going to have a good time. So you have to find that, you got to find that fine line of entertainment and edutainment. You got to find that fine line right there to get both. So I want to bring people out and say, hey, man, come have this good time. And while you there, oh, by the way, did you know we got a truck over here where you can get your prostate check or whatever the case might be and explain those things into them in a more layman's term, not no panel sitting up on no stage because that's cool, but we done seen that before. What our block party is going to consist of is the people that are educated. These doctors are going to be amongst the crowd. That's where I have seen the most impact in my journey in advocacy. It's after the talking. It's when we sitting in there one on one. That's how you get black people to trust you. You got to have a conversation. They got to feel who you are. They got to look you in your eye sometimes. And so we're gonna have the doctors walking around. And one of the great things we're gonna do with technology is use that ability to capture live questions, and then the doctors will go back on stage for maybe about 30 minutes and answer real-time questions for that particular community. Questions they might have with opioids or whatever the case may be, things that are affecting our community for real. And just having a great time about health, give you a little bit of hope. Then we're gonna give you a little bit of hip hop. And like every great barbecue, after a while, people don't want to talk no more. They just want to have a good time. At the end of every block party, we're gonna have a concert by a well-known artist. Hopefully, one that has some type of ties to what our issue is, some type of health issue, and we're working on that as well. So that's what we're gonna. Those are the three pillars, and so the album portion and the music is part of our audio health literacy portion under the Betterment Productions, and that's what the P. Dot 57 featuring Freeway and Blushkey is. And then one
Shouts
of
out
the
to Blue.
other,
Shouts out to Blue.
okay, and one of the other and then one of the other joints is that we're gonna do with the pillar is when we do the block parties. One of the dope things we're gonna do is we're gonna film this thing. So what I decided to do was instead of turning one person into a star, turn the whole community into a star. So here's the difference. It's a lot more impactful than Dr. Whoever coming into Wilmington, Delaware talking, as opposed to Richard Raw or you, sir, but you've been educated, so you're confident enough, and we know you know what you're talking about. It'd be different when Richard Raw's on the radio saying, yo, man, we got to tighten up and stop eating XYZ. That's more impactful than a strange doctor. And the doctor might be perfectly right. He probably is. But it's different when you come in the community, when you got people, when Sister Josephine's on a radio station saying, girl, y'all need to come on down to the Health, Hope, and Hip Hop block party. This is what's happening. Not, some other character going on there. And that's the thing about getting complete community engagement so that we can bring that back, man. That's what it was back in the day. The community took care of each other. I couldn't go in 2 blocks down and play in the street and get away with it. I would get cussed out, might get knocked upside my head, then get home and get another ass whipping. Excuse my language.
Listen, no, but that's real. That is the community utilizing the community's voice to help uplift each other. And now, and literally, and I actually think that that's also probably how you got to the Hip Hop Array podcast, because you wanted to be able to add value to those voices. But tell us more about that as well.
Yeah, so that podcast was, I definitely know women have a lot of issues that they have to deal with. Eve didn't do women no justice. I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you that right now. I'm sorry, ladies. And so they got, I got a crash course 101 education at one of those summits, but it was a bunch of women there, and it was profound. The different cancers that they can get. It's all over the place. Cervical cancer, breast cancer. It's just cancer, cancer, cancer. So my point is I thought though I wanted to make sure we address the men because number one, us men, first of all, we got to start taking control of our household, man. We got to start being men in our household, and we got to lead. But in order to lead, you got to prove yourself worthy to lead for a woman to want to follow. So my point is that I wanted to address the men because I felt like if we can get the men right, check this out. If men are somewhere getting their act together, women gonna come over there and find out what the hell's going on. It's just that simple. Wherever, I don't care what, that don't matter, whatever ethnicity, it don't matter about us. Where men are somewhere getting their act together, women will go take a peek in and say, what's going on over here? So I figured you kill it. It's like a win-win-win situation. And we as men got all these, especially in our age, we've been taught that stinking thinking, some of those stereotypes, hey, I remember the time I fall down, hit my head, my peoples might say, hey, go lay down, put a wet towel over your head. I might have had a concussion.
Yeah,
A wet towel wasn't going to do nothing.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
that kind of concepts that we were taught not to cry, not to show emotion. And God created both of us. And he created man and woman, and we both got emotions. So why would we. And so it's just that type of thought process. The podcast is about keeping it real. It's about breaking down those barriers because the issue is not about black men taking tests. We got to get them to the damn doctors. They won't even go to the doctors. I got a couple homies that just won't go. Why? Man, I don't want to know. Well, you're gonna find out one way or the other. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And if you find out the other way, it might be a problem. You might can't fix that. Do you feel what I'm
Hmm.
saying, dog?
Absolutely. Listen, and it goes in a couple different ways. That physical health and mental health.
Correct.
So, brother, listen. You might have done been you. Who says you didn't go through some things and now you not quite? It's okay. It's okay. Everybody a little off. Go talk to somebody. Get that out you. Get
We
that up out. Because if you don't express it, you just gonna keep burying it up. What you mean? I'm fine. No, you are not,
no,
sir.
you are not.
Okay.
And
No,
it's
you are
okay. And it's okay. And I know we're looking for safe spaces and all that kind of stuff, and I get it. And they have them. You know, our podcast is one of those ones where, you know, that's what we're talking about, man. I'm not going to be candy coating stuff. I must get to address because we always want to blame it on the white man or somebody else. And don't get me wrong, they play their part. But, dog, we got some. But I'm telling you right now, we got some self-inflicted wounds,
right.
homie.
That's a
We do a
fact.
lot of stuff to ourselves, man. You know, there's different, man. We do it to ourselves, and
And
I want to address that right there. And
we,
so,
we, we do it to ourselves, and then it becomes hereditary, and then we pass it
correct,
down.
correct. And those are that generational curses that we got to break that, man. So we got to stop this crazy thought process because it wasn't cool. Some of the stuff they taught us back then, it wasn't cool.
Yeah,
And
it
so
was
it's
just wrong.
important. So it's important to get that message out to people, and especially our brothers, that hey, man, it's okay to talk. It's okay that you going through something, like you said, especially mentally. And there's a lot of trauma that we done went through in our lives that we holding on to and we ain't processed correctly. And I feel like, to be honest with you, and I might lose my black card on this one. I hope not. Sometimes I feel like the entire black culture, we need to be on the couch somewhere, for
Yeah,
real.
yeah,
The black culture need to be on the couch somewhere sometimes because man, we gotta get over this, man. We gotta support each other. You know, we got the people that got businesses, and I'll give you a great example. You know, I got a person with a business, maybe a sneaker store, right? It's comparable to Foot Locker. Now, they'll go into that black foot sneaker store and be like, "You man, soon they find a brother. These J's cost 140, man. Can I let me get these for like 110 and all this bartering and negotiating, right? But when they carry their ass in Foot Locker, Walmart, right, or any of them stores, the price is the price. They might ask if there a discount or something like that, and the person might say yes or no. Guess what happens after that? You gotta make a decision. You either buy them or they leave. You don't do all that shuckling and jiving, man. So why do we do it to our own people? People that sell seafood. Man, these crabs cost $50. But you go to the restaurant and you pay the same. You don't be saying all that in the restaurant. That's what I mean by the culture need to be on the couch. Man, we got to cut that out. And then we can grow. We got to understand our financial power in this entire country. We have to understand that that's what moves the needle. We all that kumbaya and picketing and all that and ride, that ain't working. We've been doing that since Rodney King. What we got to understand is the money is what talks. That's what talks. When you start affecting the bottom dollar, that's when things get moved. That's when laws get passed. That's what we got to learn, and we can learn that as Black people, we are one of the biggest economic people in the United States. Period. Go look at the stats. Go look at the statistics, and you'll see what it is. But that's to your point. That's my thought process. I'm sorry, homie.
woo,
I don't went somewhere else with it. My fault.
yeah. But listen, listen. Two things that people need to know that I don't want to be stigmas for us no more. And I'm not gonna go too far because we are running. But I do feel like it shouldn't feel like we always looking for a deal when we come to us. And B, it shouldn't feel like we always got bad service when we come to us. These are two things on the opposite side of the coin that we need to figure out
Right.
sooner rather than later
Right.
because it raises our value as a whole. It raises our
Yes.
value as a culture.
Right.
If our culture doesn't seem like a culture that's trying to short itself, if it seems like it's not a culture that's trying to beat down itself or take or devalue each other. So
Correct.
that's where that all goes into. It's all about self-worth and self-value as a person, as a human, and as a culture. And yeah, so I'm with you, brother. Listen, we could do this. I ain't gonna keep going. We could clearly do this.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I'm a gracefully bow out right there. I
Yes.
don't because I can go on and on, but once again, like I said, homie, I really appreciate you having me on this program for real, for real.
Mhm.
And what I really hope to do from this message and from this live is, get people to understand the importance of our culture and making sure that we do better, because we can, and we got to stop hating on each other, stop killing each other. We keep talking about the white man and the police, but we killing each other right in Chicago all the time. We do it all the time. We got to stop that, man. We got to stop that. And one of the things I want to tell them street jokers on the block, because I was a street joker too. Don't let the nerd thing fool you. I was on the block too. Let me tell you something. Every corner, there have been about 3 or 4 hood legends that thought that block was theirs and passed away. It is not your block. You don't own anything. So stop killing each other over these sets, these blocks, these J's, all that foolishness. The young black men got to learn how to process their emotions. They got to learn how to process their emotions correctly so that we can cut that foolishness out. Because we're doing a job for the other man. That's what I'm gonna say with that. And all I hope from this is please, please, please subscribe to my foundation. That's all I ask. I ain't asking for no cash. I ain't asking for none of that. I'm asking for a movement. Sign up to the foundation. Follow the foundation. I got a .org. It's all official. It's Health Hope. It's Health Hope and it's healthhopehiphop.org. There's no N in it. It's just healthhopehiphop.org. That's the website. And then we're on social media everywhere. And prepare for some more music. I got some dope stuff coming with some big partnerships with some big artists. So that's all I got to say, man.
Wait. So two things have to happen, maybe two and a half. One of it is I ask all my guests the same question, and I'm very curious what your answer is. I asked all of my guests if you could give advice to a younger version of yourself. But the year is 2024. So with the young Grand G out here figuring it out, and you know you in your youth and what you were going through. So like that version of you now with all the things that are happening in this world now, what advice would you give a younger version of yourself in 2024?
Man, there's a bunch of things, but I'm going to tell you, really, I wish I could tell my younger self, man, trust God.
Mm,
Get with God. Doesn't mean you ain't
mm.
going to have no issues, but it'll give me a lot more peace. It helps you to process things properly. I'm going to leave you with this one last analogy, man. So, as you well know, everything on this planet that's manufactured comes with instructions.
That's right.
Even
Yeah.
that Cracker Jack box, if you're old enough, if you got the Cracker Jack box with the little toy in it, even that came with instructions. And you know why it came with instructions? The manufacturer knows more than the person buying the product. He made it. And he has those instructions so that that piece of product that you bought works at its optimum level, and that it works, functions properly, so you understand how to do preventive maintenance on that thing. And oh, by the way, there's a whole nother section that's called troubleshooting, when you come up with issues that you can't understand. We, us, human beings, we got a manufacturer. His name is God, right? And he gave us a manual too. And there's no disrespect to any other religion, so please don't get that confused. He gave us a manual too. It was called the Bible, and it'll tell you everything you need to know about life, everything. And I'm telling you, that is why I'm here today.
All right. Woo. That's a word. That's a word. All right, good people. Now, I tell you, like I tell everybody else, if you give me a word, I give you a poem. Now, while you think of that word, I gotta give a quick hat tip. Blip, blip. Quick hat tip. To the Homie Awards. Giving out, listen, shouts out to the Homie Awards. They were out there on Sunday, literally kind of celebrating different musical artists within this area, in this region. And listen, some of us was included. That's a fact. So listen, so shout out to the Homie Awards for even being a little bit more inclusive and doing what they gotta do. Quick hat tip. Blip, blip. Oh, dude, Kingswood Community Center. Oh, the groundbreaking. Yes,
Yes,
Kingswood. You
I
know it,
saw
East Side.
it. Yes.
Yes. Shouts out to Logan Herring and everybody kind of out there literally furthering the culture and making life better on East Side for everybody. Again, a quick hat tip. Blip, blip. Listen to the Black Women's Health, the Black Women's Health Group. Shouts out to Steffi Delight. They working on some things for Black women and Black Women's Health. So look them up, check them out as well. They just did a live, so go ahead and check and take a look at that. Also, quick hat tip. Blip, blip. Oh, two, of course, the Mill Summit. Yes, the Mill Summit was out there educating young entrepreneurs, young professionals, young business makers, and they had a whole section. Shouts out to Charlie Vincent for kind of putting that together with Spur Impact. Nataki was on the art panel and just giving out jewels. Sarah Crawford was out there hosting the dinners. It was a vibe. Shouts out to everybody involved with that. One more quick hat tip. Blip, blip. Yes, that quick hat tip. I got to give the hat tip to the Artloop. Why? Because I was hosting art on the Artloop. I was outside at every stop doing spoken word. Me and my man Grillo, he was providing ambient sounds and different things. So, you know, we hit about 5-6 different galleries all throughout it. So shouts out to the city of Wilmington City Fest for, you know, allowing us to do that, to create once in a lifetime moments that people have never seen. And also one more hat tip. Blip, blip. Yeah, to you, sir, for joining here and everybody else watching, getting involved in this moment, taking it in. With that said, you got a word for me, good brother?
Well, thank you, brother, for having me on. I want to thank everybody who stood, joined the live and stayed on the live. I really appreciate y'all, and I mean that. I love y'all. I really mean that, and y'all need to love on each other more. And my word's going to be, man, I'm gonna give you something. I'm gonna give you something hard, man. My word is immutable.
Immutable. All right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Wait, hold on. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I only want to make sure because typically if I say too much, that's when they start to fear me. It's not because of how my words tend to land. It's because I tend to say things that go against their plan. They're planning for me to not take a stand. They're planning for me to not know who I am. They're planning for me to get so lost in the ham and the spam that I don't realize that those things aren't going through the right way that they're supposed to. And I'm not even going to ask questions about the insurance plan. Damn. All right. See, I just want you to understand that if they don't really hear the words that I say, then they don't understand that sometimes you got to be serious because life is a game that ain't for play. Life is a dice game, and the way that they will roll will stop you dead in your tracks, and they won't care about how you stroll. Matter of fact, what they will do is charge you for how many seconds it takes your fingers to move before it seizes up while you scroll. Oh. You didn't know? That's where that pain tends to go. I'm talking about the small bones. See, I want to let you know that this is a moment that you can't leave alone. And for us to make it through, I don't care if you grown, you still can't do it alone. Most of the time, if you think you have to, that means you're in the wrong zone. See, we need to come together. That's foundation. Oh, excuse me. That's how you reinforce the foundation. See, I need you to understand that this is how you take place in a place that they can't replace. Anything that you start to state, please don't leave this in a way in which you are mistaken. See, what I want you to do is make sure that they hear you. They hear you mention, they hear your message. They know that when you say what you came to say, we might laugh a bit, but this ain't no step and fetch it. See, I want to make sure that you get it, because otherwise you will leave yourself neglected. See, all I'm trying to do is make sure that they hear you. So I'm sorry if I sound like I'm too proud or I sound like I'm too loud, but I refuse to allow them to quiet me down. I'm sorry, but I am immutable. So you can't listen. Anytime I got an MC here, I refuse to act like I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, like this was not giving it. So,
Yo, super fly, man. Super fly, man. I'm old school, but mixed with a little bit of new school. But that was dope. That was real dope.
I appreciate you, good brother. Again, thank you again for coming on. It was an honor to have you here. Again, if y'all missed anything, go and rewind it back after it plays. Anything you want to say before we get up out of here?
Nah, man. Peace and love. Peace out,
Yeah.
250 guessing.
Absolutely. Listen, as I like to say, love yourself first, and everything else will fall in place. All right? Y'all have a good evening. See y'all next week, y'all.
Anybody out there, it's because I got chemo brain. I love y'all all.
There it is. All
All right, peace, dog.
See y'all.